Welcome to another episode of the Inside Byte. This is Tim Schaefer. I actually have two co-hosts with me. Finally got it going where I found a group of people to do this with me. I think this is going to be an awesome fit. I'm here with Rudy.
Hey guys.
How's it going, Rudy?
Not too bad. Pretty excited for this, so looking forward to all this conversation, man.
And then also have Dryan here with me.
Hey, what's up?
You doing good?
Yeah, it's just hanging out.
Dryan, I mean, what do you do for a living? What are you into? What keeps you going?
What I do for a living is I work in the marketing field along with freelancing and photography. And I just keep up with like random hobbies. Like recently, it's just like knife collecting.
Interesting hobby.
Yeah, there's a whole entire market for pocket knives. You can
believe
buy and sell and just make a bunch of money on the side.
It's awesome.
I mean, okay, generic question. How many do you have?
So right now, I actually have a spreadsheet of what I want my
Whoa.
collection to be.
Wait.
I have this 40 knife box, right? It's a container for all of them, and I have them separated into categories of 10 high-end knives, 10 mid-tier knives, 10 budget-friendly knives, and then 10 automatic and out-the-front knives.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so I collect amiibos, but I don't really do anything with them. I mean, what do you do with your knives? Do you do anything with them? Is it purely collecting?
Just like pick them up, marvel at them.
So basically, they're this thing in the knife collecting world on Facebook and Instagram that I've just dove into, stemming from my freelancing as a photographer, where I followed like these other photographers and this one famous photographer that I know. His name is Peter McKinnon, and he's super into this lifestyle thing of like everyday carry, which is sort of like the traveler and camping kind of vibe aesthetic you see on Instagram. So with
So
that,
you're getting really campy, like literally campy.
Yeah.
I'm
with
checking
your
out his
aesthetic.
page right now. It's kind of interesting. I see what you're talking about.
yeah,
No,
and
he's great. He's great. I know who he is. He's amazing
Very
talent.
cool.
dude just dropped an axe. Like he and his like editor went out to a cabin, made some axes, dropped them for like $1,000 a piece, and they sold out within 5 minutes.
Whoa.
50 axes. So that's a lot of money to be made.
Are these like tomahawk throwing axes or what?
They're not. I wouldn't say they're not tomahawk throwing axes, but you can't chop down a tree with these axes. It's like in between, like utility wise. Like you could take it to the backyard and just chop some wood with it and make a campfire. If you look up the handle Pete's Pirate Life, that's his everyday carry profile on Instagram. You could see
So
like
these knives are this whole aesthetic that you're trying to do,
Yeah.
and lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, so
that's pretty
the
cool.
whole concept behind everyday carry is being prepared for anything at hand. So usually what's in like a normal person's everyday carry is what they have on them every day they walk out the door. For me, it would be like my keys, a pocket knife, a flashlight, and a utility tool, usually like a pry bar and a pen, sometimes a notebook.
Rudy, you collect knives?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because we already our first episode together, and we already have someone who wants to come on the show. I'll tell you guys right now. His name is Jesse, and he's like a beer master. So if you ever want to talk about beer, I'll bring him on, and he's a gamer too.
Which
But
I
anyway,
definitely would want to.
No,
Definitely
he's like
would.
he makes me feel so inadequate if I talk about anything. If I ever mention that I've ever drank anything other than some, high-end craft beer that I've never heard of in my life, then he makes fun of me. So it's pretty funny. But anyway, he'd be good for a future
I have
episode.
a brewery like 2 blocks from my house, and I got really lucky and ends up being like really, really amazing beer here. So yeah, I'm big into it. I really like it.
About Dryan's hobby, I think that's pretty awesome. But no, I'm not a knife collector really like that. I think I've always kind of admired them from afar. Like I think, wow, these are like I have a buddy who is kind of like him. My buddy Joe, he's all about every time he comes to see me. He lives in Long Island, and every time he comes up here, he's always got some different knife on him. Or here's one I just bought. Here's one that's used for this specific. I think he probably has a similar hobby to you. I don't think he has a spreadsheet, but I think he's pretty into the idea too.
You
Yeah,
have a collection of something.
Yeah, I personally do, and all my friends who aren't gamers and my wife always make fun of me. But when you buy like a collector's edition for a video game or something,
Yeah.
and it usually comes with like a statue or a figure of some sort. Well, that's me. Like I have so many in my room right now, and I love all of them.
So
dream
you
is
would
to
have
set them
like
all
a
up.
Gears of War chainsaw, maybe.
Exactly. Like I haven't gotten that large yet, but when we move into a bigger place, then I'm gonna start going bigger. I'm gonna start getting like big things like that. But like for example, like I have like a Halo Reach one. All the guys are set up there, and it's like a
Like,
big, maybe like a foot tall. It's like pretty big.
like miniatures of different people in Reach.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, yep. Or I have like the God of War one with like Kratos and Atreus, and they're killing a guy. So I love collecting stuff like that. Honestly, I think it's so cool. But my one buddy, he's always like, "You're collecting dolls?" Then I'm like, "They're not dolls. You stop that."
I always think 40-year-old virgin. I
Oh yeah, when he's painting the little guy there. Man, love
Some of
that
those
movie.
statues are pretty cool though. Like I see
They
like
are.
these accounts on TikTok that like throw together like Naruto statues, and they're pretty
Yeah.
lit.
Yeah, I personally think they're awesome. And like what I'm gonna do when I move into a bigger place is, kind of get some sort of display for it. When Final Fantasy VII Remake came out and they
Yeah,
sold that ridiculous, very
Yep.
expensive edition with Cloud and the
yeah.
motorcycle and everything, I got that, of course.
Damn.
Um, so
I
yeah, so
am
that's my
super
thing.
jealous because so that actually is my favorite piece of media, like period, like Final Fantasy VII, anything Final Fantasy VII. I suck it
Right.
up. It's my favorite thing on planet Earth. I really, really, really wanted it, but I just kept being like, man, $200 for like this cloud figure. I don't,
You know what?
I don't know. I don't know. But
I
man, I wanted it.
I can't really the way it always goes the same way for me, right? Like I get most of my games on PC, and I know most times PC doesn't have like like a collector's edition,
Yeah.
but it always goes the same way. I'm like, do I really need to drop $120 on this one figure? I'm like, no, but man, I really want it. Can I justify? And then somehow I convince myself. Like, Mass Effect came out recently again, and they had the edition with the helmet. you
Damn,
know,
you got it.
I got the helmet. So yeah, so that's my thing. I love collecting stuff like that. So.
So, you can get a Buster Sword right now for $500
Oh my God, why did you tell me
online.
that? Jeez. That's gonna be like when I move to a bigger place, I'll hang it on the wall or something, along with like a Link's sword and shield or something, stuff like that. I think it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
there's this person on Etsy I'm looking at right now. They do like handmade custom builds of like fantasy swords, like a bunch of keyblades, lightsabers, Final Fantasy swords. That's what I'm
Are
seeing.
y'all big into Star Wars? That's always a big thing with people. I'm not like super nerdy on Star Wars. I mean, I
I
like them, but that's about it.
I like Star Wars, but I came to it so late. Like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I've been a fan since the old days. Like I didn't start watching until I think The Force Awakens was coming out, like the last trilogy, and I was like,
Oh,
let me catch
really?
up. Yeah, so I'm way behind, but what I did watch, I enjoyed it, and we could have a whole discussion, I'm sure, on the new movies. I know people have strong opinions about those, but
Yeah,
overall, I liked them, except the last one I really didn't like.
I
But
think you said you actually like Last Jedi, and
I do.
I hate it. So we can definitely talk about that.
We
So
definitely can. We'll save that for a time. That's definitely my number one thing I like to collect. And then the other thing is, well, besides video games, is the one we all share.
right.
But I'm all about tattoos too. Like I love tattoos. I love getting new ones, planning it out, sketching it out, coming up with some cool ideas. So I want to be just like covered over the years. I'm just gonna keep going and going and going. But you just got to, budget it out. Obviously, all these hobbies are super expensive, so it doesn't really work out well for me. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
how many tattoos do you even have?
Oh my God, I've probably lost count by now. My arms are covered and I have a chest tattoo. Actually, it was funny because when I went on vacation, Dryan was laughing at my
Oh
anime
yeah,
tattoo.
yeah, yeah,
It's you guys know Nier, right?
yeah.
The
Yeah, yeah.
games there. Yeah, it's from there. So it was like one of my favorites. But yeah, man, I'm gonna keep going for sure.
That's an anime tattoo you don't see too often. So like when I said that, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something unique.
A lot of my tattoos are ones that someone would come up to me and either be like, "Wow, that's really awesome, I love it," or they don't like it at all. But honestly, I don't really care because once you have a
Right.
lot of tattoos, you learn that people will give you their opinion very quickly. I'm like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know that you don't like this tattoo. Thank you." It's
Yeah.
kind of silly, but I guess I can say at least that other people don't have a lot of the same tattoos as me, which is all I really want.
At least it's not like a tacky tattoo, like a Celtic
Right.
tattoo or like Chinese symbols
Right,
or
like
something.
tribal. Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
thing that everyone
Yeah.
gets. Yeah, I'm over that, man. I just really love the artwork from, like nerd culture, games, movies, things like that. So that's usually what I go for.
So music is my number one just kind of thing overall, and I
Sure.
am trying to keep my tattoos just music related just because I
Right.
thought that would be interesting to
That is
do
cool.
because it's
Yeah.
different.
I'm kind of blown away by when I see people post like you or other people, for example, in some of these groups, and you guys are so knowledgeable about music in general. Like I listen to music, don't get me wrong. I have my groups that I
Oh
like,
wait, so did you see that like 100
I
album
can't
post?
I when you guys are writing stuff like that, I can't wrap my head around knowing that many artists. I'm like looking through this. I'm like, I don't know 91 of these 100
And that was
artists.
hard. That was actually hard to do. I like it was really hard to get to that 100. I mean, I could go to like 3 or 4, and I'd still be trying to debate. Well, maybe this over that, all that stuff.
Dude, I that's really impressive to me. Like I love music, but I guess I don't listen as like so I know some people who every hour of every day they got an earbud in their ear. They're listening to something. They're always discovering the music. I'm the guy who I get in my car and I'm like, I could either listen to something new or I could listen to this album that I know every word to. No, I'm picking the one I know all the words to, you know?
So this is interesting. What I was just thinking of because I totally forgot when I was a late teenager. This was a big problem because I was always doing that, but it ruined my social life because I would always just have music playing, so I'm not talking as much to people and all that. And
Yep, yep.
once I hit like early 20s, I'm like, all right, I got to stop doing this. And so I will I almost like restrain myself and I will be like, all right, I'm gonna listen to music now that I have time to do so because I just love it so much. I can't like
Yeah.
if it was up to me, yeah, there would be an earbud in my ear all day, but that I can't do that because it just takes me away from responsibilities, just talking to people, all of that. It's a big rabbit hole.
Yeah, I will say the last thing to round this part out is I think these days as we're getting older, I sort of think of anytime I have free time, I always think like, okay, I got 2 hours or so until I have some obligation. And then I never approach it in the way where I'm just like, let me just see what happens. It's never like that anymore. And I can never ever I can't picture being bored in my life ever again. I'm always like, okay, I got 2 hours. Let me play some video games. Let me watch this show I wanted to watch, whatever. It's not like I feel like I always plan it out, you know. I don't know if that's the teacher in me, maybe.
No, I do the same thing. I'm never bored, and it hits a
Never,
point where
never.
like I kind of like miss it a little bit. I'm like, man, if I like, I kind of miss just being bored. I haven't in years, only because I
Right.
have so much to do
There's
and so
so
much I
much.
want to do. And I'm like, oh, I need to like, even just I don't know, TV shows or animes or movies. That's the whole thing. I need to sit and watch. What am I going to spend the next like
Yep.
10 years of my life trying to watch all the shit I'm trying to watch? I'm never going to
Yep.
catch up. But that just being there makes it where I'm never bored again.
Totally
One
agree, man.
One Piece takes like 10 years to watch.
Oh my God, dude, I never
I'm not doing it.
some of these anime that I look at and I like anime, but I'm not always on the newest anime watching it. But sometimes I look at these
Mhm.
old ones I've missed. I'm like, is it really worth it, Rudy, to catch up on 700 episodes of Naruto or something? Nah, I can't. It's just
Answer's
too much,
no.
man.
Wait, you haven't watched all of Naruto?
I
I
haven't either.
I have not. I can't. I
No,
can't do
okay.
it.
Like I will say, like One Piece, if you're not like caught up, it's not even done yet. Like,
Right.
don't start it if you're not caught up because it's just way too like there's way too many episodes and filler. Naruto, however, you could skip the filler, and but you need to watch the whole series. It's like a masterpiece.
All right. Well, that's something I'm sure we could have a nice discussion at length about. So
Yeah.
I like how we're just picking up a bunch of topics for future here. So that's good. Yeah,
Well,
of
I'll
course.
have a 10 series, 10 episode running thing just on Dragon Ball. So I'll
Oh
get
my
to it
God,
there.
that'd be forever.
There's
um,
also there's like alternate timeline Dragon Ball stuff like Dragon Ball GT, and then there's Dragon Ball Heroes now.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I never answered. You asked me what I did too. So I'm a teacher. It's been interesting, kind of, as I'm getting older. You know, having kids, being a teacher. It's like it's so funny, like how things have changed. I used to be like the wild kid when I was younger and everything, and now, I can still tap into that here and there. But it's things have changed a lot. And it's definitely not a bad thing. It's just it's very different. When you sit down and
Is it
think
the
about it.
same that drives me to want to do it? Is it just the fact of really wanting to care for
Yeah.
children?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
It's definitely reward. I know we talked about it, but it's a
Yeah.
very. I finally found a job that I actually like going to every day. Which is a rare thing. I know a lot of people are very
That's
unhappy.
why I want to do that because any other job, I'm still just doing some like, oh, I'm fixing somebody's shit or something like that. But I'm not saving lives.
Right.
Like
Right. Right. Right.
I wish I was doing that anyway.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk more about that. But yeah, man, that's about it for me.
Yeah, we're just going to go into the news here. And right off the bat, it's increase in wildfires versus prior years. Basically, there's been way more wildfires than pretty much anything in recent history. I don't want to say since the beginning of time. But let's just say the last like 20 years, it has definitely been on the rise. Just talking about trying to figure out why. Is it something we need to even be concerned about? Is this more of an overall cycle with the world and we're just hitting a high point? But if you look at the overall scale, it may not be as much. Is it actually like higher than it's ever been in the last thousands of years? That's really where we need to look.
Right.
I'm wanting to hear Dryan's thing here because he's the one who brought it up and wanted to talk about it, and I want to see where you're going with this.
Right.
So like when you look at the news and you see these like headlines, right? Like increased wildfires versus previous years, it's a very alarming thing to see. But if you dive a little bit deeper and like look at like why we're having these like wildfires, it just seems like states poorly managing their forests. Like I guess like some states have these controlled burnings of like just dead trees and stuff. States like California and other states out west are poorly managed when it comes to that type of thing.
Do you have any guess why?
I think it's just like how the local government is ran, and it's very dependent upon like what they prioritize their budgets into, you know.
You think they're too concerned about all the social stuff going on right now that the forest is taking the back seat?
Yeah, I think so. Like when it comes to like wildlife management, there was this thing about wolves where they tried to conserve wolves and stuff, but these wolves were like eating like farmers' livestock, and so they had to be gotten rid of. It's just stuff like that where people just poor plans and just like mismanagement and just like poor leadership, I guess, in like the local communities where things like that kind of just spread out into other communities.
Like if you had more controlled fires, you would have less of the wild.
Like if yeah, I mean, I would say if these planned burnings and controlled burnings of like the dead stuff in the woods, like dead trees and dead grass and stuff, were more organized and more managed by professionals as opposed to like just some random company that's just doing it for bottom dollar, we would have less wildfires. Because once the wildfire starts, right, like it just keeps on going and going and consuming, and it snowballs out of like just this apex or the starting point of wherever it may have happened.
Isn't it crazy when you hear like you see a headline like you mentioned on Monday, right? And then let's say Tuesday of the next week, you see another headline. They're still fighting this fire. Like, I can't wrap my head around that. Like, I think of a fire as, okay, the firefighters come, they take care of it, right? So think of like something burning for a month straight. It just blows my mind. Like, that's just nuts to me.
I mean, like when you see like fire tornado on a headline,
oh my God,
you kind of freak out, you know?
Yeah, there's an article that I found. I can put it in the chat here. I found an article from July 15th of this year, so it's very recent.
Yeah.
And it has like, it's a huge, looks like very professionally written sort of like spreadsheet, and it has all these statistics and everything. So like one thing I'm noticing here is it says of the 1.5 million wildfires that have occurred since 2000, 224 exceeded 100,000 acres burned, and only 14 exceeded 500,000 acres burned. That's just like, that's craziness. I mean, there's all sorts of useful information in here though that we can take a look at.
Do you think that it's whether we were here or not, it'd be happening? Do we have something to do with it? Why I'm asking that is the lead into. So, 200 years ago, what was really going on? They didn't have the tech we had now.
Right.
How were they controlling it then versus how we're controlling it now?
Like how much of an effect do we have?
Why is it higher now? Even if things were more natural then? What if we didn't touch it at all and we just let it run its course? What exactly would even happen?
So I guess that feeds into this whole argument that people get very worked up about, is how much of an effect are we personally having on this, right? Because if it's worse now than then, I guess some people would conclude that has to do with us. Or is it just the natural course of the earth? I have no idea.
Are it on the levels of, again, like you were saying with the controlled burns, what if we never even did a controlled burn and then a fire burned, it ran its course, and we never messed with it at all?
Right.
What would even be happening? The problem with it, obviously you can't do that because you got like houses in random places. Next thing you know, like all these people are dying from it. But then maybe they could like close off areas where they know fires would take place and not try to dig deeper into places where you shouldn't even live. Maybe that is the solution, but there's so many ways to take it on. Like, if we are doing it, are we talking pollution levels and us fucking up the planet, or are we talking like, are we messing with things thinking we're doing something good and we're actually counteracting it in a worse way? And then what if we're just making it happen that much even easier because we're trying to do it our way instead of the planet's way? Like,
Right.
it could literally
I mean,
go either way.
I mean, some of these wildfires like are man-made, right? Because
Right.
of from what I've been told by like friends that are firefighters, was the controlled burns are actually what helps decrease the amount of wildfires per year in certain areas. If you don't have a controlled burn, and if you have a particularly hot summer, things will catch fire anyways, and these wildfires will spread even further. So
Yeah.
the controlled burns in some designated areas do help, and they are performed usually by firefighters, not like just like random Joe Schmo off Craigslist. One of the things that causes all these wildfires is sometimes like you have people
Announcing a baby.
yeah, announcing their babies and just like taking out acres and acres of land, but like also just like activists who are out there. Who was it, the Australia wildfires or whatever, where people would just like light bushes on fire?
Yes, that was 100% people's fault.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I can't believe that when I saw that. I felt suspicious about it, and then I saw that. I'm like, wow, that's it's just
Yeah,
this,
it's already been proven at this point that that was the case. So
Yeah.
that that's just so disheartening. But I found something in this article too that says, check this out. This is kind of interesting. So top 5 years with largest wildfire acreage burned since 1960. First of all, they're all after 2006, right? Or excuse me, after 2005, all of them. So that's already kind of an
Red
interesting
flag.
thing right there, right? And then
Yeah.
in fifth place, 2007 was 9.33 million acres burned. 2006, a little higher, 9.87. 2017, now we're at 10 millions, 10.03. 2020, which was just last year, 10.12. And then 2015, 10.13 million acres burned. So first of all, I think it's kind of interesting that they're all in the last 15 years, top five since 1960. I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
something.
haven't we been going more green? We're definitely more green now than we
We are
were in
more green.
1965. We are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that
I
can't
don't
be the
understand.
fault. That can't be because we're treating the planet horribly. There must be something
Right.
else happening. A why?
And they even say the other interest. Someone with more knowledge than me would have to analyze this because I'm not sure what to really make of it. Like the 2015, which has the highest number of acres burned since the 60s, it only had 68 fires though, versus 2006, which is only 9 million, it has 96 fires. So why are there less fires too? I don't know. This is kind of interesting to look at, but I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it.
Also, you have to look into what big, I mean, this is conspiracy level stuff. You also have to look into like what big stores are like trying to buy out that land to like build something on there, like
Oh
maybe like
yeah,
a facility and stuff. So it's like, who
sure.
knows? They may have paid off somebody to start a wildfire there because it costs less to burn things down than like just dig up trees, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You never know, man.
I'm thinking the planet is wanting to burn sections of it to regenerate whatever, right?
Right.
And if we force a business or houses, whatever, in those areas, and then we stop it before it even really goes because we don't want people to die in this area, where if we would have left the area alone, it would have just burnt out and that would have been it. Now we're stopping one fire, but then we're just starting another fire in an area where it wouldn't have really been, and then now it's going in directions it would never really planned on going because it has to change its course. We're kind of trying to force the plane into doing things it doesn't necessarily even want to do, and maybe that's why it's happening more now than ever, because we're putting ourselves in places we shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that, see if anything else develops about it. But for now, I don't see any. I don't see us getting any sort of information about this anytime soon. That's gonna.
I just looked it up. The number one country with the biggest carbon emissions is China right now.
Are you surprised?
No, but like I'm like
They don't even have trees to even have fires, so yeah.
just that smog. But like if you look at the most of Western countries, like their carbon footprint is pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think it's that. I don't think it's
Yeah.
Just I know I keep mentioning this, but just a note: we definitely need to do an episode talking about China's influence. Let's start with games first, because that seems to be a hot topic lately. So we
Oh
definitely can
God, I
revisit
could
that in the
go on
future.
for ages about that.
Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. So
Blizzard.
it's a mess.
I mean, they're at the
Yeah.
forefront of it all. But anyway, yeah, that's a whole big deal. But let's move on.
Yeah.
So Pentagon released an alien report and basically said we don't know what UFOs are, but the aliens are for real a thing, and they're just admitting to the fact of, yep, there's aliens here. Even 20, 30, 40 years ago, I mean, all the way stuff that was huge in the 80s where they try to deny it all day, every day. And now
Right.
they're just straight up admitting it. Like, what do we think about that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I still feel like okay, so first of all, I think we need to start with okay, so when you think of like the term alien or UFO, right? I think people have a certain idea in their head of what that is. They think it's like this humanoid creature or something, who's gonna come down and speak a different language or something. But an alien can be, let's say, any sort of life form, right?
Be like a plant that goes.
Could be anything. So I think we have to keep that in mind. And also, UFO is not just a saucer, right? A UFO is just literally what it means, an unidentified flying object, right? So as long as we keep those two things in mind, I think we can all agree that it's very believable that this stuff has been around forever, right? Like I don't think anyone would argue with me on that one. Um,
I mean, Jeff Bezos will let us know in a few
did,
months.
did you guys see the clip of Jeff Bezos when he when he comes back from his space
Fantastic
adventure?
Four.
Yeah, they ask him like are you gonna I don't remember what the question was, but something about like, are you gonna keep pursuing this? And he's like, hell yeah, and he does like the most evil, villainous laugh I've ever heard in my life.
Did you see that one kid's dad got him a seat in that rocket for $28 million?
Oh my god. I gotta show you guys this clip. I'm gonna put it in the chat, but it is definitely an evil laugh, like something you'd see in like
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I want to.
I'm gonna put it in there right now. But
There's
yeah,
a
go ahead.
there's a meme on Facebook or just the internet in general of just Jeff Bezos and like three other people like photoshopped to look like the Fantastic Four, and it's hilarious.
It's awesome. Yeah, I don't really know. Like, why are they coming out now and admitting this stuff? What do they have to gain from this? Are they just giving us little breadcrumbs to keep us at
No, I
bay?
think that we're gonna find out real soon that they are, and they're trying to get ahead of it.
Right, right. That could be it. I mean,
I think they've known about aliens like ever since like I don't know like ever since like Reagan was president, like
I
back
mean, they could
then.
have known
Mhm.
since like 3,000 years ago. We just didn't have the tech to really like tell it to other people, put it into like movements or anything. But now that we have all this like tech to spread information and save information and send and all that, like it's way easier to manage news now than ever. And maybe that's the only reason like it recently has been happening more than the past, because how would we know that they didn't see the same thing 200 years ago outside of one person just randomly seeing it and telling a friend, and that was the end of it?
right, right.
I think it's their way of like slowing, well, not slowing, but I would say like slowly distributing that sort of information out, so it's not like a widespread panic for when or
Yeah, yeah.
information overload when we all like see it in front of us.
Right.
We're gonna
Well,
have like a conference to where like, hey, here's the alien we've been hiding for the last 30 years, and then he just gives us a speech with Oprah.
this article that I'm looking at, that was, let's see, published April 28th last year, but then been updated this year, June 3rd. It's such like it's just nothing. It's just like they're saying nothing. So, Department of
Yeah.
Defense confirmed what seekers of extraterrestrial life have long hoped to be true. They're real. Ooh, nice headline. And then at least these three videos are. What do these videos show? The government isn't so sure there. On Monday, they released three Navy videos that have driven speculation about unidentified flying objects for years to clear up any misconception. Like, this is nothing. Like, they're just saying a whole bunch of nothing here. So, and we've seen these videos a while ago, right? These are the ones where the
Yeah.
guys are flying. They're like, wow, how's it moving so fast, right? That whole thing. Um, so yeah, I don't really. I guess this doesn't really do much for me until we know more. So,
I mean, with the advancement of technology too, like
right,
you see a lot of these like videos on YouTube talking about aliens where it's like how did we go from normal brick phones to like iPhones in less than 20 years, where we can like have Star Trek level technology where we're talking to people on our watches, you know?
Are
Right,
you
right.
saying that's because of aliens?
Yeah, or like just some sort of connection there with like this uh, advancement in technology, like the internet and all that stuff.
Do you think that well, I think it's obvious that they have tech that is not available to the public yet, but do you think this is on
Right.
like some crazy level? Like they have, for example, like something that can cure diseases that are incurable and they're just keeping it from us? Do you think it's that high level right now, or do you think it's not to that extent?
I think it might be to that high level. It's just like we don't have access to it, right?
Right.
Preserving people in cryo is a thing,
Right.
but you have to be like one of the rich like 1%
Oh
in
my
the
God,
world to
yeah.
access that.
Yep.
To wake up in the future that is like 300 years from now and you still have a functioning body. Like that's just crazy kind of stuff.
That is nuts, man.
I'm thinking we are just like, obviously the government's going to have more higher tech than what the public would have, but
Right.
I do think we just grow at an exponential rate of what we can make. And then
Yeah.
once we make it, we got to think of something that much greater. Like you can't just make the same thing again. And so you have these crazy ideas clash into where you'll have the next crazy level up 6 months from now. And with so many people trying to always top each other, I think that's why it goes at such an accelerated rate. I don't think aliens have
Yeah.
really anything to do with that.
Well, think about like Moore's law, for example, right? Like look at what has happened over the last, let's say, 50 years. Everything pretty much just doubles in a period of every few years. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep,
Look
yep.
at like I think there's an old picture you could find of some guy pushing like a huge hard drive on like a cart, and it's something like 400 megabytes or something crazy like that. And then you look today, I can insert a micro SD card with a terabyte of space into my computer on my
Right.
Switch. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I
So
just think that's the clash of competition
yeah,
in
yeah,
general. Like,
yep, agreed. I guess we'll have to keep an eye on that one though.
So there's this like other thing online where people talk about like these like ancient gods in like Egypt. There's actually a whole entire like freaking Hulu special about this, where like aliens have visited in the past and they're actually like the ancient like Egyptian gods, like with like bird heads and stuff, or Aztecian gods with like dog heads and shit like that.
Interesting.
They just give the people technology and then they're worshipped like gods. It's a whole entire like Hulu special.
one thing that has me really being like, oh, aliens are here and have been messing with us when you do go to the pyramid levels of things, because that really is stuff that I don't believe they could have done then, because that would require tech that even us today wouldn't even really have. So when you start going to the pyramid talk, I am being like, okay, well, we had some outside help there. We kind of had to have. I don't get
Yeah,
how.
I don't
Even
understand.
if you spent thousands of years with your slaves doing all your work for you, like it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with how perfect it was
Right,
done.
right. Extremely precise. Like God, it would be a project to do that today. It would be very difficult. So I just can't. I don't understand. I don't understand how they were able to do it.
You can't make something that big that perfect
Right.
with just having random people helping you out. You'd have to have the best of the best with every possible worker that you had.
Yep. Yep.
I
No,
don't know.
that's
Like perfect math, like actual a genius, like for real mathematician genius working, and you have what, thousands of them? How do you even get that many?
And they all just happen to be slaves.
yeah, right. This is loosely related. I just came across this earlier today when I was, preparing for this. I saw an article that said that Dubai is causing. Obviously, we know about Dubai and how rich they are and how ahead of us they are, but they're causing artificial rainstorms to fight extreme heat. Like this reminds me of like some. I don't know if you guys ever played
Yeah.
like Command and Conquer back in the day, like the RTS game.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
reminds me of like making the weather machine. Like it just seems so like fake and ridiculous, and now we're at a point where these guys are literally making a machine to, I guess it's using a technique called cloud seeding, where they launch a drone into the clouds, determine the precise voltage required to make them release large droplets, zap them, and then generate heavy rainfall. Like what the hell? I I can't even believe this is a real thing. So
Well, actually, that idea has been floated around already by Disney with Cloudy with a Chance of
Jeez.
Meatballs.
Yeah. It just blows my mind that it's
Y'all ever
we're even
see
to this
what's that
point.
movie? Twister, I want to say. All right,
Oh
there's
yeah,
two of
like the
them.
old
There's
one.
Twister, and then there's like Tornado. There's movies.
Yeah.
And I always get the two mixed up, but
Yeah,
Yes, I do remember Twister.
speaking of movies relating to aliens, the movie with Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix, Signs.
Lines. Yeah, I remember
What about
that.
crop circles? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't even
I
know.
don't. Yeah, I don't think people are doing that ourselves. There's got to be something more going on. How do you get that perfect of signs up in the earth like that?
Yeah,
lines.
that's I want to mention it before I forget, but just M. Night Shyamalan, however you say his name.
Yeah.
He has a new movie coming out that if we are able to watch it, we should talk about it because it looks kind of interesting. That old one, you guys see the preview for that?
M
No.
Night. Let me
Oh,
see.
it just released on Friday. It's like they go on this. Here, let me pull it up.
Is it old creeping?
It's just called Old,
Old.
and it just came out
Oh,
yesterday.
I saw the trailer for that. I actually want to go see that.
Yeah, I want to watch this, and it's
So Tim, basically the premise is like this like group of like people just like go on vacation, right? And then like they go to this like section of an island, and they can't leave it, and then they try to leave it, and like it ages them dramatically, and then like this
Oh, dude, it's Death Stranding, bro.
they're on a time limit basically, and like it's just like the growth rate of the humans over there, like they're kids who are like 6 years old, and they went off like underwater for a second and then came back up like in their mid 20s.
Yeah, you're telling me that's not Death Stranding? Come on.
Yo, Death Stranding. Oh my God, we got to talk about that game eventually too. It looks really interesting. So I'm gonna see if I can watch it soon, and then I can at least talk about it a little bit, non-spoilery, if you guys haven't seen it at that point yet. But
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna
No,
check
no,
it out.
I want to watch. I love movies like that. So
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies, period, is that Unbreakable movie, and then the one after it's even better, Split.
Oh, Split. I
I,
haven't seen. I hate to say it, but I haven't seen Unbreakable. I just watched Split because it looked cool and I loved it. But then I
Shame on you.
get. I know. I got to fix that. I'll fix it for this podcast. How about that?
I've
I
seen all of them.
I didn't get the twist at the end. Everyone in the crowd was like,
You watched the
"Oh my
third?
God!" No, I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna go back and watch Unbreakable and then catch
No,
up.
no,
But
no. What's the new one called?
Glass, but I hear that was really
Glass.
bad.
It's
A lot of people didn't
alright.
like it.
It's not bad. How do I put it? It's so out there and so weird and random, and it leaves a lot for discussion, and I actually like that. But it's not bad. Like all the acting
Okay.
good, the shooting's really well done, the script's everything's well done in it. It's
All right.
just more of like there's got to be I guess there's got to be a fourth coming.
So I'll have to, so we can talk about it. Have you guys both seen all three?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
you know what? I'll catch up then. I'll watch Unbreakable and Split again, and then I'll watch Glass, and then we can talk about it.
Now, yeah, I can pick my favorites. Like, I think technically Split is the best of the three, just
Yes.
because
That movie's
the
awesome.
main actor's just that fucking good.
He's great, man.
Like, it's all great.
All right, I'll catch up. We can watch those for sure.
Yeah, James McAvoy is like a phenomenal actor.
He's great, man.
Sorry, in Glass, he still has a very big role, and he still does a lot of crazy shit in that. It's worth it for that alone.
I think the reason why people didn't like Glass compared to the other movies is because like if they didn't see like it wasn't really like portrayed as a trilogy kind of thing.
Right.
Like I didn't even know Split was related to Unbreakable until like the
Until the
ending
ending,
scene.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't planned, so that's kind of cool how they did that.
So
Yeah.
Glass puts the two together. Is
Yes.
its mission.
Yes. So I think Glass is like the ending chapter of the two origin stories of like the hero and the bad guy, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna get the three movies and I'll watch them. Trying to see if I can get like a 3-pack or something maybe.
Let's move on, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gaming news that want to go over, and we're going first with this not Switch Pro, Switch OLED. I was one of the people that was super bummed because God, I want to Switch Pro really bad, and I was loving using my Switch, but then I eventually started going into the level stuff. So I'm jumping huge on the cloud gaming right now. I'm all about it, and so I've been using my phone, and I've been doing the Xbox Game Pass, streaming my PlayStation, even using Stadia. First of all, Stadia technically is really, really good. A lot of people all over it, only because the way they go about it is just kind of dumb. So
Right.
basically, you get 1080p where you don't have to pay for it. You buy the games, you buy it, you own it. But nobody wanted to have yet another platform to buy games on. So I'm going to drop $60 on this new platform with no history with. Whenever we had PlayStation, Xbox for so long, when I'm buying a game, it's going into my library with a bunch of other things. And it feels like it's contributing towards something to where
Right.
I don't
Right.
I don't want a whole new storefront. So
That's why I
that's
love Steam so much.
exactly because it's such a history with stuff
Yep.
there. And so that's the big hurdle. But once you just get over that and you're just buying it like you would buy anywhere, I'm
Right.
telling you, it does really play. It feels like you're playing local. It really does. There's so hardly of a difference. Unless you were on even 5G networks is not ideal enough yet till it gets faster. But if you're on a Wi-Fi, I'm telling you,
Right.
even if your Wi-Fi is like 20 or 30 down, you're already good and it plays just like you're just playing on the normal thing. I can't notice the latency, and I've tried a million times to try to put as fast as possible, or I'll play Destiny on it a ton. I'll play other shooters, and I'm telling you, I play just as well there as anywhere. Now, I have also on my TV. Now, if I was to get my phone experience, shoot it to the TV, maybe I'd be able to notice it then because it's much bigger of a screen.
Right.
But on my TV, I have the Stadia, the Chromecast directly connected to LAN, and I have fiber in my home. So I'm telling you, there's no delay at all. And maybe if I have less internet, even. But I really
All right.
don't. I really
I
think maybe if in 100 down, I'd be good.
Well, here's the thing. Let me jump in there because I know you mentioned your internet setup and everything. So for me personally, I don't have any sort of. I know a lot of people are very resistant to the idea of Xbox and cloud streaming and all this, or they're on the other camp. They're super against PlayStation. But like these people are so silly to me, right? I just like games. Okay, so
Yes, yes,
when
yes.
when Xbox started doing their cloud streaming and all that stuff, I was like all about it. And my internet here is pretty good. Like it's pretty reasonable.
The
It's definitely not,
Xbox
it's
is
def-
noticeable, though. The Xbox is
yeah,
noticeable.
yeah. So I don't have fiber, which I really wish I did because it sounds amazing. Like I have a friend who has it as well. But I've tried all this stuff and I have so much trouble. Like I
I
tried.
don't think you will with Stadia. I really don't. And
No,
you don't even
Stadia.
have
I've heard.
to.
I heard you don't with Stadia, but I've tried like the X Cloud and I've tried PlayStation Remote Play and things like this, and I have so much trouble and it bums me out because I really wish I could do that.
If you had
S-
fiber, it'd be better, but it's still not. It's still
Still
not
not
there
perfect.
yet.
I
And so
just
you're still in the right camp. You
right.
would be in. Okay, even
I'm
even me
definitely
with
would.
fiber, it's not good enough. I do notice
Right.
when I'm
Right.
doing Xbox or PlayStation. Xbox is better than PlayStation, but it's still
Yeah.
there.
I wish it would get to the point where it was just like, hey, like I
But
so picture it this way. Like right now, even if your connection is not great, you can still play a game online and have a pretty favorable experience. When it gets to that point, I think it'll be great because everyone, even with a decent internet connection, will be able to jump in, no problem. That's why the
now
Steam
you
Deck has me so
could
excited.
use Xbox Game Pass and just play games that aren't high end. So it does matter what the game is, like the
Yeah.
power is pushing out. If you were to play, like, let's say Hollow Knight, right?
Right.
Hollow Knight is
One of my favorites.
pixel perfect though when you're playing even like on Wi-Fi, not even directly connected. You could
Right.
have whatever internet. I remember playing at like my work's internet and it was super shit. I want to say like 10 megabyte down, and I was
Uh-huh.
having zero problems with it even there. So you could try the Game Pass, especially if you're already a member. I don't know if you are or not, but
I'm not at the moment.
okay, but just try a lower end game and you'll see
Uh-huh.
what I'm talking about. You'll be like, oh, this is just fine. But then the very moment you play anything more powerful, now
Right.
you start having all these issues.
We can have a whole discussion, but we'll save it for another time.
So
But
yeah,
I have a whole reason why I'm not like big into Game Pass. Just the short version really is. I think Game Pass is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these people who are like, I don't use Game Pass and it sucks. Like I'm not like that. But the way I am with my games, it's just I guess it wouldn't be favorable for me to do Game Pass. The idea of having all these games and I know that I'm not going to play so many of them because just like I said earlier, I'm very specific with, okay, this is the game I'm playing. I'm playing it right now. That's it. Very rarely do I deviate from that, and it's usually games that come out day and date. Now I know Xbox has a lot of games that come out the first day, but I guess if I was to look at like the last 10 games I've played, probably like 6 or 7 of them are not
for
on Game Pass
you, there
day one,
wouldn't be a point if you're just
Right.
playing one game at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's great though. I think it's awesome
I
that
jump around a
service exists.
lot. like too
Yep.
much. I'm trying to restrain myself, trying to stick, and I'm trying to stick myself to what like 6 at a time because normally
Sure,
I'll be off
sure.
like 10 or 15 at a time. But
Um,
no, I am in that. So Game Pass I love because I'm telling you, I was spending way too much money before Game
right.
Pass existed for years and years. I
Sure.
keep like buying this game up, buying that game up, especially when like the Switch first released for the first like 2 years. Dude, indie was popping so hard, and I was spending so much
Oh
fucking
yeah.
money.
Yep,
And
yep.
what's cool is Game Pass. Xbox now is like definitively the indie place right now, which is really weird that it's come to this, but it has.
Mhm.
And so they drop all over Game Pass, and I'm constantly jumping between way too much shit. And I'm telling you,
That's
I
awesome.
would be way too broke if I didn't have Game Pass, and it saved me not hundreds, it saved me thousands of dollars, like
Yeah,
real
no,
talk.
I totally believe that. I think it's a great value. It's just I don't know. For me, like I usually like let me think of like Halo, for example. Like the thought of not being able to play it because I stopped my subscription for a month kind of is I play that so much, and but that's just one of
Yeah,
many
but
cases. But
you just buy it then. The whole
you
point of Game Pass is
right,
to be
right.
in the mentality of, hey, I'm wanting to play something right now. So what I did with Kingdom Hearts 2, I never actually beat it. So I went back and it was on Game Pass. I played it and beat it, and then I'm good. I didn't have to drop $30 on it. There's so many
Yep,
examples of that to where like I'll need to play
sure.
something that's on there. I play it, beat it, and I'm done. Yeah, you're not going to do that with Halo
Of
or
course, yeah.
a game that's constantly like being played by a bunch of people online. But if
Right,
it's a
right.
single player game you can play for 20 or 30 hours and be done with it, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
no, I think it's great that it's an option still, and I hope it lasts because people seem to really love it.
But
So
they're not relying on it. That's the thing. Like,
right,
you
right.
can still buy the game. It's not like, oh, I'm buying a game on Stadia and I'm forced to stream it. This is a whole nother deal to where it's just like, hey, if you want to like get games without having to buy individually and you're trying to get a bunch, it's worth it. Anyway,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was bringing all that up to go with the back to Switch. So why I was even bringing that up to begin with is now that I've been playing so much on my phone, it is far better Switch than my Switch by a landmark. The amount of stuff that I'm playing on my phone is very like, okay, I'm playing the newest Xbox, PlayStation, whatever Stadia thing on there. And I'm with no lag and everything's great. Okay, I was playing Judgment on my phone. I can't play Judgment on my Switch. I can't play
Right,
anything
right.
close to that.
Yep.
So I'm like, man, I really wish I was going back and using my Switch more because I miss it. But like, okay, this OLED thing, and maybe they come out with. So I got a question for y'all. Do you
Yeah.
think next year we see a Switch Pro, or do you think we're just going to see a Switch 2 at some point?
Knowing Nintendo, we probably won't even see an upgrade Switch for the next like 2 years at
I
least.
think I think Dryan's probably right, but I also will say this, and I know God, I know people get on me because they're like, "Oh, you're always defending Nintendo." I'm like, not always, just sometimes. I think in this case, though, I think we did it to ourselves. I'm not talking about us in particular. I think a lot of people, though, they started running wild with these ideas. The Switch is going to have DLSS, and it's going to have this, and it's going to have that,
But
and
do you think
Nintendo
there's
never
two
want.
of them? Do you think we get the Switch OLED, almost like we got the DS Lite, right? But then you have a
Yeah,
DSi where it actually is the upgrade. Both
yeah,
could exist. Like,
that's true.
what
That's
if
true.
all the rumors they were seeing is still something currently being worked
And
on?
that is a possibility. That's why I'm not. I guess I'm not as bothered by this. Like I have my launch Switch, which now is just it's pretty beat up and it just sits in there as like a Smash Bros machine. But now I have my Switch Lite, which I love. I really love that thing. It's very nice. And I was even gonna go for the Switch OLED, and I was like, you know what? A nicer screen. I can give the old one to my daughter. This will be a great idea. But then the Steam Deck was announced, so we'll talk about that later. But I think it could possibly be what you think. I think people are gonna buy this in October whenever it launches. And then let's see, Switch launched in 2017. So
Yeah.
maybe let's say, I don't know, maybe 2022 or something. Maybe they announce another one because they want to
I'm
stay relevant,
split on
obviously.
Switch 2 or Switch Pro. Where do they go?
Well, and Nintendo, let's see, Nintendo usually their generations are not as long as the others, right? Like I know the Wii U obviously was not selling well, so look, they had let's start from the NES, 83, but then that was a while. 7 years later, Super NES in 90, then 6 years later, 64, then 5 years. Now they start getting smaller, GameCube, 5 years Wii, 6 years Wii U, and 5 years Switch. So I think now we're in this 5, 6 year cycle. So by
Yeah.
that logic, if you're right, let's say 2023, maybe a Switch 2 comes out. And do we all agree that they should continue with this Switch idea? Because I personally think
Yes.
it's a really smart
We're
idea.
hoping.
I think so.
Do you think they should though, or do you think they should go back to a home console?
I think
normal?
I mean, from a profit standpoint, I think they should split it up again because they can maximize
Yeah.
profit in handheld and console. But I mean,
But they
to
could do
appease the
what they
masses,
just did, though. You have a Switch and you have a Switch Lite. What's preventing
But
them with their next system to have the handheld, smaller version of the thing that they already have?
right, but I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I know a lot of people they knee jerk say, why can't they just make a system like Xbox and PlayStation? I'm like, well, guys, they can't just be like the others because all they're gonna do is just be like the others and sell less. They gotta find some way to differentiate themselves. To me, the way I look at a Switch is I have my main system and then I have my Switch. Like I have my PC where I play most of my games. Then I have my Switch for first party games and the portability thing. People really don't give that enough credit sometimes. That's a huge thing, especially for like a parent or someone you're always out, you're always on the run. For me personally, I think the portability aspect is like number one.
I think they're acting like, oh, you're whipping it out in your car or something. No, it's not
Right,
that.
right,
It's even if somebody's on the TV,
right,
they're
right.
just
Yep.
on the couch playing Switch.
It's great, especially if you live with someone, like, okay, put it this way. I could either be in front of my computer playing a game with the headphones on and my wife is on the bed trying to talk to me or something, or sometimes you have a situation where we're in the living room and we're watching a show and I'm kind of like grinding on my JRPG or something. You know what I mean? Like that's what I really like about it.
I can be more involved with my family if I have
Right.
something portable with me.
Totally agree. So
Yeah.
I guess it just depends, if you're someone who that's not really going for you, then maybe you're fine with the other experience. I know it's bad. If there's ever a time when no one's home and by some random occurrence, no kids are here, no one's here, and it's just me, it's bad for me. Like I can't control myself. I'll play video games all freaking day. It's horrible. So I'm almost glad that it's not like that. Like it still feels special, to be
Yeah,
able to play for a
yeah.
few hours at a time. How about you guys? What do you think about the OLED? Were you disappointed by it? Were you expecting more, or are you okay with it? What do you think?
so for me, I have a Switch already. I'm not gonna get it just because like the hardware in itself, like it's
Uh
not that
huh.
much of an upgrade.
Right.
If you already have a Switch, for the amount of money that it's going to be selling at,
There's
it
no
it
need.
ain't
Yeah.
it ain't worth an upgrade. Like if you're on a budget, like
Right. Right.
it's one to pass. But that being said, if you still don't have a Switch in 2021, it'd be a great
Oh,
one to
this
pick up.
that would be perfect. You're getting
I kind of
a
wish
really
I
good
didn't
value.
have one and I was
I
buying a
know.
Switch OLED.
Yeah.
Find somebody to sell your current Switch for like $300.
But imagine that person has to be really that person has to be really uninformed to buy that. But they are out there, and it happens all the time. So
No, mine's real bad. It's all cracked up, scratches all over it. It looks
gotcha,
horrible.
gotcha.
Dude, honestly, there like I used to work for GameStop, right?
Uh
And
huh.
there are so many uninformed buyers.
Oh yeah.
Like when it comes to not like people in our generation, but just like people like parents that are buying video games for their kids. Like I mean, I had this one lady who I remember specifically one time tried to buy GTA 5 for her like I think like 8-year-old son. And I'm like, uh but I mean, a sale is a sale.
All right. Well,
So no,
like
we're not buying this.
no. I think we agree though. If you don't have a Switch yet
Yeah,
and you're interested, this
Yeah.
is
yes.
a really good buy. So I would go with that.
And it has
Yes.
a better battery than the day one. Now they upgraded
Right.
the battery later, but I have the day one, so mine's only 2 or 3 hours at most. The upgraded one's like 7 or 8, and
Yeah,
this
and I have the light.
7.
The light is great. The light's battery is great. I feel like it
It's
never.
even higher. I think it's like
Yeah,
9.
I just love the light too because it's so compact. I have like a little grip for it, and it makes it way better to play. But it's still not huge. Like I can still bring it over. Like I guess I don't mind playing the newest Nintendo game on my Switch on the screen exclusively. Like that's how I play most of them, and it's nice. It looks good on that little screen.
I'm pretty split on like, do I play my Switch on my TV or do I not? Not when I was using it now because I've been using my phone. I really haven't in the last like 6 months. But when I
Right.
was, what I'm saying is like, I was using it a lot on the TV because it just depended on the game. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I was playing through Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and I
Right.
wanted to play it on my TV. I didn't want to play it on the handheld.
Yep.
There,
Uh,
there,
Yep.
There is some nuance to some video games where you do want to experience the whole thing like on a bigger screen, like Xenoblade, for instance, just because of
Right.
the
It's
the
so
way the
vast.
world is set up.
Uh
But something like Farm Simulator, you don't really care to like just put
huh.
on like just the console or just the handheld version. It's just fine.
Think we set our piece on that. You guys want to talk about the Steam Deck now?
Yeah, and
Yes.
this does put it in the coffin to me where I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm
I
definitely
don't
not
need
getting
this.
OLED now. I was talking to two of my friends who are in here with us, and I was in the chat, and I was like, you know what? The more I think about it, maybe I'll grab the OLED. I'll let my daughter, now that she's getting more into gaming, I'll let my daughter have my launch one.
We
Um,
always try to find excuses to
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. And
Vacations, you
then
know.
he posts in the chat like, "Oh my God, it's real." I'm like, "What is he talking about?" And then I see it. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is literally what I've wanted for years." As a PC and Switch player mainly, this is like the best of both worlds, right? So many
were you
PC
love at
games.
first sight? Because I wasn't.
Say that again.
Were you love at first sight? Because I wasn't. I grew it over time.
I honestly was into it right away, man. Like
Uh,
the idea of it was perfect to me. Come in, and then on top of that, when I looked at the setup of it, I was like, oh, that looks a little weird. But then I thought back to my Wii U days, and I was like, you know what? The Wii U gamepad looked horrible as well, and it actually was pretty comfortable to me. So
People
I don't.
gave the control so much shit. It wasn't bad at
It
all.
was.
It
It
really
wasn't. It wasn't. The Wii U. I don't care what anyone says. I'll defend this to the end of the world. It sold
I
like
like
shit.
it.
They had some problems that they needed to address for sure. But the Wii U gamepad was a really good idea, and it was a novel idea. And look how far it's come now. Now you have a few systems that are taking that idea. I thought it was great, and it had some good games. Really, really good games. Which is why you're seeing so many ports to Switch now, right? Because obviously there was only what the Wii U sold like what 12 million or something so low like that.
So
Um,
you're buying for sure Steam Deck. You have one reserved.
yeah, so I was waiting. I got the 512 because let me tell you why. So at first, when I saw the three SKUs, I was like, I'm definitely not getting the base one because number one, it doesn't have the SSD, which I'm spoiled by now, and number
No,
two,
no, no. It does
um,
have SSD, just not as good of an SSD.
oh, you're okay. You're right. Correction. Well, yeah, I wanted the better SSD because the other one was the NVMe. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I definitely wasn't going with the first one. So I was like, let me try to get the second one. But then the more I thought about it, um, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to worry about deleting games stuff like that. And it has like the anti-glare screen for the top one. I'm like, you know what? When it gets to the point where I reserve, I'll try to go for both of these. Whichever one I get, I get. So I'm there at 1 o'clock exactly. I'm trying to get in for 256. No luck. He keeps kicking me out. I go 512 and I got through right away. So that was it. I just
Okay.
got 512, and I got lucky enough to like now it's updating with
Are you
the, ro-
getting it the end of this year?
yeah, I am, and I
Okay.
like have seen almost no one have that release date, so I'm pretty excited
Mi-
about that. I
Mine's
see a lot of
quarter one of next year.
quarter one. All right, so I'll be the guinea pig, I guess, in December. But I'm excited, man. I'm gonna be able to play so many more games that I normally wouldn't be able to play as much. So
So right now you can reserve for quarter two. It seems.
for 512 or 256.
Let's see. 256, 64, and 512.
But you're not going to see those dates till after you reserve. Some of those
Yeah.
will be different dates, and you won't know till after. But yeah,
Damn, Rudy, that's $650.
Yeah, but you know what? I've been
yeah,
planning for this. When you use your credit card, you get points and stuff. Well, the one I
Right,
have
right.
is really high. I'm just letting them build up.
dad mode.
I'm just letting it keep going and going and going, and we'll see when we get there. So
Wait,
yeah, I'm excited
so
for it.
does this have an SD port?
It does. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can run games off the micro SD, or you can run them off the drive that's in there. So what I'll do is I'll probably have 2 or 3 games that I'm playing at the moment on there, and then maybe some games that it's like such a small game that doesn't need to be on an SSD. Maybe I'll throw those on a micro SD card.
Wait, okay, so my confusion is oh, okay, so you have to download the game into it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you can choose your
Okay,
your your location, And the crazy thing
gotcha.
about this thing too is people don't realize you can do whatever you want with this thing. It really is like a little PC. You can wipe Steam OS off there. You can put Windows on it. You can download Origin, Uplay, all that stuff. So that's gonna be pretty cool to mess around with it when I get it.
You could do homework on it.
I mean, whatever you want. The only concern I have here, to be fair to Nintendo, is this thing's battery life is gonna suck compared to the Switch. It's not gonna be good. I
Yeah,
already see that.
they're saying
Um,
2 to 4 hours, and it really depends on the game. Like Portal, how old is Portal 2? And that's
Yeah,
still
Portal
2
2 is like
hours.
what, over 10 years old or something? But you
Yeah,
know
For
what?
4 hours?
I don't I don't mind as much because I know that I'm going to use this thing a lot in the living room or something. You know, it's going to be like a couch thing a lot of the times too, so I'm fine with that. But if I ever do want to bring it out with me, maybe I'll just bring my Switch too, just in case, because the thing's going to die on me for sure.
Well, I mean, then that's why you have external like hard drives
Yeah, that's
to
true.
recharge.
Dryan, do you have any more questions? Because I'm gonna go on a big spill here with the Steam Deck in a second.
Okay, so I think for those people who don't know anything about the Steam Deck, we should talk more about the basic features of it, and as to like what it is, pretty much because like we can like fangirl all we want, but for the listeners who aren't gamers in
Yeah,
this section,
Rudy, explain it. Explain it in general terms.
yeah,
What for the Steam Deck?
Yes.
All right, so basically, it is a handheld system that you can play your whole Steam library on. Now, I know a lot of people don't know what Steam is. Basically, it's like a client that you use on your computer. Probably the biggest, I'd say, biggest
It is.
client for PC games on computer, obviously. And a lot of us have huge Steam libraries. You know, I have like probably over 300 games by now.
I
Um,
have 280.
yeah, so basically it can play any game that's in your Steam library, but in a portable version. But it is like, kind of like a mini PC. So a lot of people are excited because finally, you know, the biggest drawback people say for PC gaming, oh, well, I don't want to sit in front of my computer, in front of my monitor with a keyboard and mouse and all that. So finally you have sort of alternative, I guess you could say, you know, a little handheld that you could bring with you. So yeah, I think that's why people are so excited. And then you have people who are not PC gamers, but maybe they've bought some games on Steam here and they're like, hey, maybe if I get a computer one day, let me just grab this game on sale for $5. You know, I think you have people like that too who are going to jump in for the first time, and then you have people who have never played on PC at all who are like, this is kind of cool. I want to try this out. So I think it just appeals to a lot of people, and clearly the demand is higher than they anticipated, right? Because all these dates keep getting pushed back, quarter
yes.
three next year. So yeah, I think this thing is going to be a big hit. I know people like to point to the Steam controller and the Steam Link and say that they didn't support and all this, but I think this is different, man. Especially after the Switch. I think it's gonna be way different.
Those Steam machines, they
Oh,
were
that too.
in that department, but it
Yep.
wasn't even them. They were just saying, "Hey, companies can make Steam machines." They didn't even do
Right.
it themselves.
Right.
Um,
Right.
the thing they did do themselves, the controller. I love the controller. Do
I
you
like
have
it.
a
I
controller?
like it. Yeah, I have one. I use it here and there. I don't. I still prefer to use an Xbox One controller if ever I'm playing a game on PC. But it depends. If I'm playing like okay, so I'm playing through all the Halos right now. If I when I get to Halo Wars, I think I might use the Steam controller because the whole mouse joystick combination is perfect for something like that. You know.
Yes.
So
I'm not going to use it for a traditional controller because I'm going to use
right.
my controller over it. It's
Right.
for those games that are
Yep.
very PC centric and you're
Yeah.
controlling it with the controller. That's where it's meant to be used. That's the whole point. And if you
Yep.
use it in that vein, you'll love it.
Or even like you know, like think of like these Telltale games or Life is Strange, things like that. I use it too because it's very the battery lasts a long time. It's very easy to just hold and you know lay down or something and press A to go through the
No,
dialogue, you
it's
know?
Switch Pro battery levels. Like, the Switch Pro controller lasts 40 hours. So does that Steam controller.
That's
They're both
unbelievable, man.
40 hours.
I remember when they announced that, I was like, come on, they have to be BSing here, but no, it really does
True.
last a long time. So
I've
so yeah, I
charged
think
it maybe 3 times since I've had it.
ever.
Yeah,
I guess so. One of my questions is, what's the resolution on the Steam Deck?
720.
It's 720.
It doesn't go above it. Now, you can
Okay.
dock it, and the dock could potentially push the resolution up, but you wouldn't want it to because everything's optimized for the 720. If you were to bump it to 1080 or 4K or whatever, now these games are running way worse unless it just runs natively 720 even on the screen, and then they just do an upscale. Hopefully they do that. But yeah, it's not going to look that great. I wouldn't even use for the TV, but it is
Yeah.
just 720 now. Switch is 720, and that is a big thing where it's like, man, that's not really that high. But I promise you, when you're just on it and it's a 7-inch screen, it's enough. You don't need it to be above 720.
Yeah, no, that's perfect for that size screen. I
I
think people
think
are going
they're
to be
only
impressed
doing
with it.
720 because of the specs of it. If you look at the specs, so it's actually weaker than the Xbox Series S by a good margin at that too. It is using like Zen 2 processor, which is in both like I think all of the current gen systems. but the GPU's a lot lower. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, man, this thing is not going to run games well because anything on the Xbox Series S, you're basically like choosing between 1080 and at best 1400p. And you're not going to do anything 4K unless it's just like an indie sort of deal, but not anything high end. But this thing,
Yeah.
I didn't think about it till later, and that's why I was initially kind of shitting on it because I looked at the specs and I was like, ew, oh, that's really low, and I was worried. But once I saw it stuck at 720, it relieved all of it because I'm telling you, like
Right.
running a game at 720, I already know because my PC specs aren't that great. But if I lower, but I have like 1440p monitors at like 144 hertz or whatever. But if I lowered any game of mine to 720, 60,
Oh my
anything
God,
would
yeah.
run.
Yeah, I think that that's the thing we have to keep in mind that a lot of people don't is this is a portable system. You can't sit here and give it crap because it's running at 720p, 60 when remember, this is a portable system. So I think people are going to be okay with having a lower experience.
You're not gonna know because the way it looks visually. If you lower to 720, but then you
Right.
put on 7 inches, imagine just looking at your computer monitor. And your computer monitor was only 7 inches,
Right.
and then you ran it at 720. It would look the same. I think
Yep.
that's the reality of it. Once people actually start seeing it in action, realizing 720 is not an issue, because yeah, 720 is on Switch, and so you're thinking it's bad, but that Switch is using a mobile chipset from how many years old? 8 years old at this point. Like that thing that was in the NVIDIA tablet forever ago.
Yep.
That Tegra 1 is what it is. This is actually like specs that are above a PS4. It's somewhere in the middle there between like a PS4 and a PS5, but then you're running at 720. I'm telling you, I just saw an article a day or two ago saying that they have yet to play a game that didn't run.
Yeah, I saw
Which
that.
I
So
believe it
we'll
because
see.
it's
We'll see how it turns
720.
out.
So it should. Where I started to get super, super hyped on, I love emulation. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, so I can go up to the levels of like Dreamcast, GameCube, Wii, PS2, PS1. All that can be up on there. I then had my whole Steam library of like 280 games. I then still have like Stadia, Game Pass, all of that. Now, the one worry I have with Game Pass, because I do use it a lot, is like I could stream Game Pass, but the native Game Pass, they said right now it wouldn't currently work until Microsoft basically like updated it where it would work with Linux as well. And I think they will, unless the Steam Deck just flops so hard and they just don't
Oh God, I hope it
consider
doesn't
it an
happen.
option. But I think they've got to at least do okay. And they're trying to get as many places as possible. I mean, they're putting the work into getting it running on the original Xbox One so you can at least stream it that way. So if they're going to those measures,
Yep.
you would think they would go to Steam Deck. So I think we'll be okay.
Yep.
And you can use it as a PC. So you get the full Linux OS. It's not just you're stuck in Steam. You can close out of Steam and open up an internet browser. You can open up whatever apps that are on Linux, which are tons. So you could still technically hook up a mouse and keyboard and open up like Office and write documents and do whatever. It still works in that vein too. And then you could also wipe Linux off of it, install Windows, and then just use it like that. I wouldn't do that though, because then you just hurt a bunch of optimization going towards the whole Steam OS and all of that. But you could if you want to. But I would just leave the OS on there.
I'm gonna leave it
But
as
what I'm saying is you can install other apps outside of just Steam.
My major worry would just be the battery life on it. I know Rudy said that like you could just chill on the couch and have it plugged in and stuff, but like that usually kind of kills the battery over time too.
Yeah, that's also true.
I am worried about battery. I just don't. I'm just gonna have to suck up to it because I still want it too badly. I don't know. I guess.
I mean, in the future, if the battery is like interchangeable, you could just like take it out and just like upgrade to like a stronger battery, maybe. You know.
Yep, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure in December I'll have
Yeah,
something to say
definitely.
about it. So.
And that goes into Dead Space remake. Did y'all see the little trailer?
Oh, man, super excited. I know the trailer basically shows nothing, but just to know
Yeah.
that they're making this again, it's probably one of my favorite games of the last like God 15 years or something. So I'm very excited about it. I just hope they do it right. I hope they do it like Resident Evil 2 was remade, for example, like with that level of care and polish.
Did y'all see that it's current gen only, so they're not doing PS4 or Xbox.
Oh, good. I didn't see that. I'm actually
very
happy about
happy.
that, though.
That what seals it for me. Like, yeah, I can actually be excited all the way because I always
Right.
worry about that. I'm
Right.
so fucking tired of that. I know the other camp, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I got these new systems for a reason. I want new
Right.
games.
Since when do we say, oh, well, there's still so many people on the old system. Let's make sure we take care of them too. That's not how it works. It's never worked that way. Every so often you have a few cross-gen titles, like third-party ones. They want to sell the most. That makes sense. But like first-party games, no, that doesn't make any sense. That never
I don't
happens.
want it. So yeah.
So
So yeah, that I'm pretty hyped on that.
same. Can't wait
Dryan,
for that
you
one.
ever played Dead Space?
Dead Space actually was I have no idea like how like anything about the franchise just because it's one of those like games I actually missed.
Okay, well, it has a big reputation for a reason. It may be the how do we put this here? It's a horror game, and I think it's probably one of the best horror games that ever existed, but only because they're so original with when you kill enemies, for example, you have to like chop off their limbs. You can't go for headshots. So you have to repeat that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's way
It's
more
really
complicated just
cool,
because
man.
of that alone. They will be like walking in such weird ways where you can't even aim at the arm correctly, and then you get fucked because of it. You have to have so much strategy on killing the enemies in Dead Space, and that's what makes it so good. And the atmosphere, I mean, it's amazing. You're up in space, and it's
Oh my God,
super
it's great.
scary. You ever play Alien Isolation? It's like
Yeah.
Alien Isolation vibes, but enemies that are way more threatening.
Yep. No, I absolutely love that game. And I think I remember like a moment I had when I first started that game. Because remember, now we're talking about like what, 13 years ago or something. I remember I was playing it. I think I was in college and I fired it up and it was, at night I'm playing with my buddies watching me. I remember thinking like, this is so, first of all, this atmosphere, like Tim was just saying, is
Chilling.
super creepy. Like I feel like skeeved out, right? You're on this ship, it's dark, you hear the sound. And then the thing I thought was really cool was that like your whole HUD is right there on Isaac. Like his back is your
Well, yeah,
health.
there's no HUD
And
in
then
the
he had
game.
everything displayed right there.
Yeah,
It was super immersive.
So there's
Yeah.
like no health bar or anything? Like
No.
literally like
it's on your back.
It's right
oh.
on the it's on the back of the main character. It's like he's wearing this sort of suit and it's right in his suit on the back. And the whole game was like that, so nothing was taking you out of the experience. It was super immersive. And man, I just have so many good things to say about that game. So
The level of atmosphere and music really like sends chills down your body. That's so good with it.
awesome.
So this isn't a sequel, it's a complete remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, remake of the first one. I hope they keep going and remake the second one too, because the
One's the
second
best.
one I loved as well. So good. Remember that? Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but remember something with your eye in the second one? Oh my God. Anyway, yeah,
I'll
that's
have to
gonna
check
be
this out
awesome.
then.
So
Been looking for like some sort of game to play
Yeah.
because I've just been so burnt out.
yeah, if you play that now, and then I imagine the remake is
Do
at
you
least
Yeah.
2
even
years off.
recommend
Give it
that?
2 years.
I guess so, only because it's so far away. They just
Mhm.
announced it with a little teaser trailer, so you got like probably 2 years.
I think it would be cool. I think it would be cool for him to play it again. Just like I would tell anyone who hadn't played Final Fantasy VII before the remake to do it. Although
Well,
the
this is a
remake is
whole
like a little
different.
more of a reimagining. It is
Because
different.
this
You're right.
is
You're right.
so. Is it
But
good
wait.
enough graphics, or is it at that weird point to where it's like? So Final Fantasy VII looks
It's-
way old, and
Yeah.
you can take yourself out and compare the two, and it not
Right.
blend so well. This kind of blends a little.
Yeah, it all depends what the final product looks like, and are they going to change anything? Are they going to make any changes to the story at all? I wonder.
Do you think the game looks good enough to be played right now?
I think, yeah, I think it holds up. I don't think it's like, obviously you need to. So, for example, I'm replaying the Halo campaigns right now, and
They
like
cleaned
Halo
them up.
3 came out in 2007. They did clean them up, but even the old version, like you can switch back
What
and forth
system
between the
do you
two.
have?
It still
Drive?
looks.
Right.
Yeah. What would you play it on?
So I'm looking at the articles and it's saying it's only PS4, PS5.
No. PS5, Xbox Series.
Oh, okay.
It's not PS4.
Oh, okay. So right now I have no console. The only console I have is a Switch, and I have an overbuilt PC that's like $3,000.
Oh, so you could play Dead Space
Okay.
on your PC.
So you're
then.
good.
That's actually a great place
That
to
would be
play
the
it,
best.
too,
Play the
because
original. Don't
Yeah.
and you can play it there. That way you can get the higher resolution, and that way it actually looks good again. Because yes, if you were to go and pull it out on 360, that's where I would be like, no, don't do that. But But
Oh,
if you're
shit.
playing it on your PC, yeah, do that.
It's all. Wait,
Yeah,
it's only
do it.
$5.
Dude, get it. That is seriously. If
It's
me and
one
Tim
of the
haven't said
best
enough good
games.
things about it yet,
Oh, right now
it's
there's a
amazing,
special
man.
discount on it for 75% off for $5 for Dead Space.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. Yeah, grab that. And if you can, if the Dead Space 2 is on sale too, get that too. Now, Dead Space 3 we can have a whole discussion about. All I'll say about Dead Space 3 is it's not like it's a terrible game. It's just it lost the magic that Dead Space 1 and 2 had, and it's a co-op game. So
Okay,
it's a little different.
so they're both
Um,
$5. Oh shit!
Like 1 and 2 were 10 out
Oh
of
my God,
10s,
dude.
and 3's like an 8.
These two games are less than a large Baconator at Wendy's.
there you go. Skip Wendy's for today. Spend $10 on those two games. You will not regret it.
That's
Trust me.
funny.
They're
All right, I'll
amazing,
check
man.
it out.
But
All right, and then
yeah. Anyway, I don't know much about the next topic, but I guess I could let Tim take
Holy
that away.
This game looks scary.
It's crazy, man. Just wait.
it is
Just wait.
horrifying. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to
It's
play. I
super
mean, at least when
scary.
it came out, that's what I was wondering. I haven't played it in so long. I'm curious if like it's still going to be as like because atmosphere is everything, and if it doesn't look as great as it did then, because it was the new hot, like nothing looked better at the time. So it really helped drive home how scared you were around every corner. And so if something looks really kind of like crappy now, it's going to kind of throw you out. So I'm curious on that front. Anyway, Genshin Impact, did anybody ever play this?
I have not. I hear like when I first heard about the game, I immediately kind of rolled my eyes like, oh, here we go, another one of these kinds of games. But then I had a friend who played it and he told me, he's like, no, Rudy, it's not what you think. You know, it's actually a good game that has that included, but it's not all about the microtransactions and everything, you know? So I was like, oh, maybe
Best
I'll
way
check it
to
out
word
sometime, man.
it. It's like I thought of it last night and I was laughing. It's the anime adaptation of Breath of the Wild.
Oh my God, that actually sounds kind of cool.
Actually, the first picture I clicked on Google is literally an anime girl fighting goblins with a club.
Yes.
It's too funny.
It's very,
Tell me a
very,
little bit
very,
about it, though.
very Breath of the Wild, but it honestly has a better combat system, which makes it great too. Because you're switching. I think like Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat system where you're switching between the characters and using different skills and all that.
Yep.
That's how this plays. So you'll always have 4 characters with you, and you're switching between them based on what you need. So like someone could have like a weakness to fire, so you switch to the fire person. But what makes it great is it switches immediately. It has that really like satisfaction to it being so quick. Did you ever see? It came out recently. Scarlet Nexus.
Oh, I was interested, but just at the time I had too many games.
It plays like Scarlet Nexus as well, where you're also doing that in that game. You switch between the 2 characters and just depending on what you're needing to do. But what's neat is it's Breath of the Wild physics. All the stuff where you're like burning down grass, so actually burn for quite a ways, or like wind will cause it to stir with the fire to cause a little fire tornado thingy.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so it plays with all of that.
That's pretty cool.
With all the elements in a very like sandboxy way. That's what makes it so good. Is so you'll be doing Breath of the Wild stuff to where like you got a paraglider and everything. So you're climbing like Breath of the Wild. You climb anything. You paraglide off of stuff, go into territories you probably shouldn't be. And but it's not like like Xenoblade where you'll be in areas where it's like, oh, there's a level 90 monster here. I can't fight them. It does the Breath of the Wild thing, to where technically you could kill anything if you really were just good enough.
I see. Okay, that's
so
pretty cool.
I'm saying all that, but that's the game. But the only reason I put it in here is 2.0 just came out, and I've purposely been not playing it much because I wanted to play it on my PlayStation because the game is beautiful and it runs so well to where like I don't want to play it on my phone. I wish I could play on a bigger screen. But you couldn't like sync the 2 profiles because I wanted to do the whole Switch thing to where sometimes I wanted to play on my phone, sometimes I want to do it. And I could do that with PC and mobile, but you couldn't do that with PlayStation. Anyway, so they just made it to where it all comes together. But of course, there's some they fucked it all up to where basically I have to just make like a whole new account if I want to do it. And I put so much gameplay into this, but I guess I'm doing it because think Breath of the Wild, that game technically ends. This is still live servicey with new updates all the time. So I really didn't want to start from ground zero, but I'm going to because I just love the game too much. So I'm starting it all over. I'm just super hyped. that now I don't have to, because it was in the back of my head all the time of like, I really want to play it, but I feel like I'm working against myself, putting more time into it because I feel at some point they're going to get it where you can both play together again. And they did exactly what I've been
I
hoping this
see.
whole time. So
I'm gonna keep an eye on that
So
one too. Then.
are these pre-made characters or like you get to make your own?
you don't make your own. These are characters with backstories.
Oh,
And
okay.
think like, you ever play a Tales of game?
Yes.
It's very
Yeah.
Tales of and how it does this delivery of like the characters, then the very JRPG approach to it all.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just how the towns work, how the people act, what the art style's like. It's super Tales.
Gotcha. So guys, listen, I don't have a ton of time left. Do you want to switch up to the main topic and then see if we have time for what we're playing, or what do you guys want to do? I feel we've done a lot of
Right.
gaming talk.
Let's
You want to
switch
Yeah,
switch
it
it up?
let's go to the main topic then. Paranormal encounters. Rudy, what's your paranormal encounter?
Yeah. So, man, well, just to be clear, we're talking about if any
Mhm.
paranormal encounters, if we believe in ghosts, weird ghost
Right.
encounter stories. For me, I don't know, man. I really tried to think hard about this. I've had times where weird things happen, but I've never. I know people who will tell you right in your face, "I've seen a ghost." Like I've never had anything like that ever. I've had very strange things, like sometimes the light will be on, and I'll be like, "I could have sworn I just turned that off." Now, is that me just forgetting, or is that something weird? Or noises, or like when I lived in my parents' house when I
What
was.
makes you go to Ghost when you even think of those things? Because stuff like that happens to me, but I never put Ghost in my brain whenever a light just
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like you. Like I pretty much feel like almost anything could happen. I'd be like, "No, of course that's not what it is. It's just I forgot or this or that." But when I talk to some other people, they're just like so into the idea of that. Now, do they jump there immediately, or is there reasons why they would feel that way? I don't know. It's really strange. Do you guys have something more substantial than me? Because I
So,
really haven't had a
so
ton with
I
this.
personally have never had like a paranormal encounter. I mean, like I've seen like the only paranormal encounter that I've like remember me and my friends going to like a graveyard at like 3 a.m. in college and just like wandering around and stuff, and then I would see no source of light whatsoever, and I would see like glowing orbs, and it wasn't like fireflies level of like light, it was just like big balls of light.
Okay, wait. So you're in a graveyard, and all of a sudden you're seeing orbs of light kind of float by. Like, in what way? Like, is it up in the sky? Is it like flying by y'all's faces? What do you
like
mean?
like I would see probably like I would say two like a 2 meter distance of like glowing orbs just like floating, and
Like,
then
like at your height, or is it
yeah,
above you?
so it would be like at my height.
Okay.
So off to the distance, and like I would point that out to my friends, and then like they wouldn't see it, and then like I like turn my head to them and turn away, and like it would just be gone. So it didn't register in my head if like that was something, and I just chalked that away and just like repressed it. It's like it's just probably like 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm tired as shit. I probably just saw something that wasn't there. My girlfriend, she's had a weird one. So the setting is she's visiting her parents. I think it was like around Christmas time. It was like in like fall to winter time. What happened one night was, so she's in a two-level house, right? The living room and then the upstairs are the bedrooms, right? She was sleeping in the living room on the couch. Her mom's partner was upstairs in their bed sleeping, and then her mom was the only one who was awake on the couch, and like TV was on in the living room and stuff. And she went into the kitchen. So the way this kitchen is set up is the entrance to the kitchen from the dining room is like the doorway. The only other entrance is like the backyard door. The sink is on the other side of this entrance from the living room, and then what's in between the sink and the entrance from the living room is there's like a table with a square table like that you can eat on, and like four chairs around each side of the table, right? So, and they were all pushed in. She walks around the table, right, and to use the sink to like wash a coffee mug. She turns around, and then all of a sudden she sees one of the chairs perfectly dead center on the table,
Whoa.
and she's like freaking out, and she because she could have like what you said earlier, where you go into like a different room and like you don't remember turning on or off the light, and so you just chalk
Right.
that off as whatever. But this is something
I
that's
mean, there
like
wouldn't even be a chair on the table to begin with. So,
like you could totally remember lifting a chair and putting it on the table
Yeah.
for no apparent reason, right? And
Of course.
so this wasn't even like during a witching hour either. There was just like maybe like 9 or 10 p.m. at night or whatever like that. And like her mom like just gets freaked out and goes to the living room and just like asks. She's like, "Hey, did you go into the kitchen and just put the table or put the chair on the table?" And like my girlfriend was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then so they both go upstairs and like talk to my girlfriend's mom's partner, and like she's like, "No, like I was sleeping here the whole time." They're all freaked out by this, and then she calls me and like on the phone, and I'm just like, "What are you talking?" And she just tells me the story that what I just told you guys. And so to this day, they have no idea like what happened, and like all of them saw the table was just like, or the chair was dead center in the table, and none of them like put it up there. Her mom isn't the type of person to like do that kind of random stuff or like weird stuff. Like think of like the nicest southern mom possible, and that's kind of like her mom. Like it's just
Yeah.
not into like that like weird ghost stuff. And like I don't know, like why would anybody just do that? You know, it just seemed out of the ordinary. My first thought was like maybe your mom just put it up there and just forgot it. Like maybe like sometimes like when you do things
Yeah.
like on autopilot, right? Like you tend to do
Yep.
things and then you just forget about it. But then it's like, why would you put a chair in the center of the table for like what reason? What purpose? Usually when you're on autopilot, you still do things for a purpose like washing dishes or like cleaning the floor or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of like when you're driving and you just get where you need to go. Like, okay, I have a 30-minute
Mm.
drive, let's say, and you get there and you're like, I don't remember any of that drive at all.
Yeah. So there's a term for that. It's called like road hypnosis or something. Truckers experience that all the time. There's like a whole entire like psychological study about that kind of stuff.
Do you think that has anything to do with paranormal stuff, or
I don't. I think
like
those
that's
two things are different
So
because
weird.
I mean her mom had enough cognitive consciousness, if that's even like a phrase, to at least get up and go wash her mug. Like why would and she would also have to put her mug down on the table to lift the chair, right? So they looked at the table and it was spotless. Like there was no like mug mark. So it's like
It's so
it's like one
weird.
of those things where it's like you try to explain it logically, but then like you can't form a logical conclusion. So your brain immediately goes to like, oh, it must have been like something paranormal.
It's a weird thing, man. I really don't know what to think about some of these phenomena. And listen, I know we don't have time today, but let's make sure, absolutely, if we revisit this, that we talk about sleep paralysis because I know it sounds like Brian, you dealt
Yes.
with this for a while. I had a period of time in my life where I was dealing with this for like 6 months
I mean,
straight. It
just
was
explain in
horrible,
a few
terrible.
sentences what was even happening. What you
Yeah, yeah.
experienced. I
So
don't get it.
right. I'll give you the short version right now. So basically, and the only reason I know so much about this is because I was so obsessed with figuring out what the heck was wrong with me, you
Yeah.
know? But basically it's called sleep paralysis. And what happens is, do you ever I know that this has probably happened at least once or twice to everyone, but obviously when you suffer from it like I was dealing with, it's like an everyday thing. But anyway, do you ever have this feeling where you fall asleep unexpectedly, let's say, or planned, but let's just say unexpectedly, you're in class, you're tired, you kind of just fall
Yeah.
asleep. And let's say your head kind of lulls back. Now, have you ever had a feeling where you're trying to wake up and in your head you think that your head is leaning forward again like you're waking up and it just keeps kicking back like it's almost like you feel like you can't wake up out of that? I don't know if you've ever felt that before, but it used to happen to me when I was younger a little bit, but then it got to a
So you're
point
trying to
where it was like
wake
an
up and you can't.
Yeah. So
yeah, yep, exactly. It's almost like you're mentally you're waking up, but your body is not allowing you to actually wake up. And then you almost think it gives you the
you are
impression
awake.
like as if you're seeing things. Yeah, like you are awake and I'm like I know that I have this poster on my wall. So in my head, because I've already mapped out my room, I'm seeing the poster. Oh, I'm awake. But in actuality, if you look at me as this is happening, you're probably just seeing me kind of like look like I'm having a bad dream or something. Like I can't wake up. And then it starts to get a little more sinister
Yes.
at times. So that's already annoying enough, right? Where you're trying to wake up, you can't. It starts to get almost like painful at some point. Like you feel like your neck is hurting. You're trying to wake up, you can't. And this can go on for what feels like maybe a half hour in your sleep. It's really strange. But then like I was saying, this is where people start to get into like conspiracy theory stuff. Because then you start to, it's almost like a nightmare combined with your sleep paralysis. Then you start feeling like, I feel this presence in the room with me, and it's not a good presence. It's like a scary presence. Like Dryan, am I on the right track with? Has this ever been with you too?
I have a slightly different experience than you. So my version of sleep paralysis usually happens to me even as an adult. When I'm
Right.
just extremely tired and I try to go to bed, I don't just knock out.
Yep.
Like I feel like I'm awake. It's like the state of consciousness between sleeping and being awake.
So weird, man.
And
I mean, I've like woken up and thought I was awake and then realized I was still in the dream and then I woke up. But like I
different.
never had
Not like
anything
that, yeah.
remotely close to like I'm trying to wake up. How would you even know?
Yeah.
You're conscious of the fact that
Mhm.
you're sleeping and you're trying to wake up and it's not happening. Like it's actively not letting you wake up, and it's really strange. And like Dryan said a second ago, it can be, I started looking into like what are the causes of this, and it could be a number of different things. It could be, overtiredness, lack of sleep. I saw excessive alcohol use was another one. Just like everything that you're doing in college, I think was
Yes. Yeah.
contributing to this. Like
Yes.
I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was overtired. I was stressed. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. You know what I mean? So I think all that played into pleasant, to fall asleep and have this happen. So I started getting to the point where I'm like, okay, there's got to be some way to take control of this. So I'm looking online. And I saw someone start talking about like lucid dreaming and taking control of your
No,
dreams.
I can do that.
No,
I do that all the time. So I can
Yeah,
be in control. Like I know I'm dreaming, so I start doing crazy
right.
because I know I'm in the dream. Like that happens to
It's
me a lot, but I'm not trying to wake up
right.
and I can't.
that's the
Right. Yes. That was the next thing I was trying, and it just got out of control. I mean, obviously I'll tell you more about it in another time, but man, it was interesting, and it definitely was very, very unpleasant. Like there were times where I would feel like someone was in the room with me, someone who wanted to harm me or something like that. Like it started feeling kind of like an evil sort of presence thing. So you could, if you even type in like sleep paralysis into Google now, you're gonna find a ton of websites that start talking about that
the
side of
sleep
things.
paralysis demon.
How it's evil and yeah, like the metaphor is like there's an old hag, like witch, sitting on top of your chest, right, like holding you down because it feels like there's a
Yeah.
pressure on you. It's a really, I feel like people don't know a lot about it. Like doctors, I don't even think they know
Yeah, it's
enough about
so
this whole thing.
basically, like you said with like lucid dreaming, right? It's not the same as lucid dreaming
Right.
because like with lucid dreaming, like Tim said, you can like wake up and when you like force yourself
Uh
to
huh.
wake up. Like for me,
Right.
it's that stage where I can't wake up and I'm also lucid dreaming. And so like in my head, I'm like I just try to tell myself because the first
Right.
thing my mind just goes to is just like demonic looking clowns. What I
Right. It's
yeah,
something scary.
and then like that's all my dream is. It's just like like
So
being
it's
freaked out.
some crazy nightmares going
Hmm.
on. You're wishing you'd wake
Right.
up because you're just seeing horrific and you just can't.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, I think that's somewhat accurate. The only thing I would change about that description is it's not so much as a scary dream as it's you're dreaming about laying, like you're dreaming about sleeping, right? And you're almost trying to have this like out of body experience. Like, okay, so when it's happening to me, I'm in my dream, I'm on the bed laying down, and I'm trying to open my eyes and wake up and I can't. So it's not like your normal scary dream where someone's trying to kill you and you're running and you're actively
Yeah.
participating in the dream. It's more like you're just stuck in this spot. You can't move, you can't do anything, and you can't. So the whole dream is just you trying to wake up and you can't. And then things in your presence are creeping you out or scaring you or making it worse. Like I remember my wife would tell me sometimes when she would be like sleeping next to me, let's say, she'd be like, "Are you okay? You were freaking out." I'm like, "Well, can you tell me exactly what was happening? Because now I'm curious. Like, what did it look like? What was I doing? Because if I was to tell you what I thought in my head was happening, it would be my head going forward and then falling back down and going forward and that's
Right.
what I felt like, in the dream.
Like
It's so strange, man. Very,
for
very weird
me,
stuff.
it was like when I tried to like wake myself up, right, and like failed attempts. What my girlfriend would describe to me was like my hands would like twitch or like my foot would kick. I mean, like I wasn't like just spazzing out in the bed or something like that. It was just like mild like twitches and movements and stuff like that. But it's a scary experience for anybody who has sleep paralysis.
Yeah, man.
Does it still happen like randomly today? Like, has this been something that's been going on the last 10 years? Like, what do you?
For me, somehow, I don't know how, somehow I kicked it. Like it hasn't happened to me in years and years and years. I think maybe one time it happened a few years back, but definitely not a normal thing anymore. Thank God, because it seriously started to get to the point where I felt like I was in like a Freddy Krueger movie or something. Like, oh, don't go to sleep. Like that's literally how I started
Yeah,
feeling every night. You know, it was
And that's the thing,
terrible.
like sleep is so important. Like the less sleep you have, like the more
Right,
delusional you're gonna become, where like your mind just falls
right.
apart. But yeah, it hasn't like happened to me in a while, but like I've just been like eating healthier, like exercising and just like
Yep.
not
It seems like that's the cause of it, honestly. Just an unhealthy
exactly,
lifestyle.
yeah, pretty much. Like it's just your body's way of like reacting to the substance that you put inside it.
It's definitely interesting, man. But I wanted to mention too, while we're on
Yeah.
this topic, I added in there for near death experiences. I have had two that were kind of crazy. So let's start with the first, like I guess I want to say less serious, but it's still pretty
Okay.
serious one. When I was 16 years old. It was my birthday. I actually had just turned 17 that day. Okay, so at that point in time, I think we were in seniors in high school, so we were able to drive to school, and my buddy was driving us home. He was the first one with his license, so he's the cool guy. Oh man, he has his license, whatever. So he's driving us home, and when we get to the road that I live on, he had to continue to go somewhere else. So he just dropped us right on the side of the road, like in the grass. Okay, no problem. So we get out, and it's me and two of my friends. We get out, and I remember specifically, I remember it was raining that day a little bit, like a drizzle. And I look both ways. This is a main road, by the way. It's like a route where a lot of cars go through. So we look both ways, no cars are coming. Okay. So we start running across the street. And first was my one friend, second my other friend, and I was the third one. Sometimes when you get into like a drive or a road, there's no like clear cut line, but you're in the road. You know what I mean? Like you kind of see that you walk past the sign, and now you're in the road. Um, so anyway, we run across. I get there, and then next thing you know, I don't remember anything. Like it just was black for a second, and then I remember waking up. I'm like, what the heck just happened to me? And it turns out that this car, at some point after we got across the street into the road, the car, like you could see the skid marks. The car must have hit the brakes or something, just seeing these people close to the edge of the street. They skidded because of the rain too, I'm assuming, into the road, and they hit me. And they hit me on my, I think it was my right leg, and I broke, what's that bone, that long one, the tibia or fibia, one of those
Femur.
two. I broke that bone. You know what? It's the long one on your
I
leg. I
think
don't
it's
know
the
what it's called,
femur.
but the long one.
It's the femur.
Okay, well, it was an important bone.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so I wake up probably, no exaggeration, probably 10 to 15 feet away from where the car struck me in someone's yard. And I remember thinking, like, I remember feeling something in my eyes. I'm like, what is that? And it's like the guy told me there was like this whole crowd around me. Imagine just waking up, this whole crowd looking at you. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I try to get up. They're like, don't do that. And I'm like, oh, I can't get up. Okay. I look at my leg. It's just broken. I have blood coming down on my right eyebrow. My arms are all cut up. There's a glass. I'm like, what the heck just happened? Like I had no recollection of what had happened. I went to the doctor and obviously patched up, and over the next few weeks I got good and everything. But the fact that if I had landed slightly differently, the doctor was like, yeah, you definitely would not be here right now. And why did this have to happen on my 17th birthday? That's the craziest part of all of this that I can't wrap my head around. So yeah, man, that was the first crazy one. My dad actually took that lady to court because she started kind of telling some lies about what actually
What?
happened, about us being in the middle of the street. Yeah, she said that we were in the middle of the street and that it was our fault and all this stuff. It was a whole mess. And I just told my dad I just wanted it to be done. But my dad, I guess, was not happy about that. And so they went to court, and eventually they gave me like a settlement, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was like, I think it was like $25,000, but the lawyer takes like a third of it. And this is when I'm like a
Right.
teenager. So it was like 17 grand, which, of course, hey, I'll take the money. But I thinking back to that day, if I could redo that, I feel like I could have gotten way more money than that. Like if I had the knowledge I have
Could have got
now,
like 50,000.
it could have been,
Yeah, you
oh my God, yeah,
flew
something crazy.
20, 30 feet.
Oh my God, yeah, dude. So yeah, so I'm lucky to be alive from that one, thankfully. And the only other one is when I was a kid, way younger. And Dryan, you live in
Yeah.
New York City, right? Yeah, so I'm sure you're familiar with this. Well, I used to live in the city
Uh-huh.
when I was younger. Must have been like 6 years old or something. We were living in the
Mhm.
Bronx, and we were getting on the subway I think it was. And I was so small and skinny that when I was stepping on the subway, you know, a little gap in
Oh, your
between,
foot got
I
in that
I
gap.
I stepped I stepped right in
Oh
the gap.
no.
I started falling down. Dude, it felt like slow motion to me. I started falling down the gap
Yo, you were
very
that
quickly.
skinny?
And then, dude, I was super
I
skinny. Yeah, I
understand a
was like very.
foot, but your whole body?
Yeah.
No, it was a wider gap for this one for whatever reason. But anyway, I start falling down, and at the last second, this random guy just grabs my arm before I fell all the way down there, and he pulls me up. And I just remember my mom like crying and freaking out, and then like the rest of the train ride, she like pulled me on, and she's yelling at me and stuff and all stuff. But yeah, I just wonder like what would have happened? Like would they have maybe just said, okay, we're not moving the train again? I would think that's what they would do, but you never know. Like, would they have just
No,
taken
no,
off?
dude,
I have
dude, I
no
will
clue.
tell you exactly what would have happened. You would have been ground beef. No,
Oh
because
my God,
that's the thing.
craziness,
The
man.
conductors, like, while like, I mean, while there's like a couple of them in the train cars, like just like moving the train along and
Uh
stuff,
huh.
and like none of them pay attention to like what. Yeah, I mean, like it. I mean, it wasn't until like COVID hit that there's like more people like in the subway station just like correcting people's like
It's
social
just
distance,
craziness,
whatever.
man.
But like before COVID, like there's nobody on the platforms like to like watch for shit like that.
Yeah, so it definitely would have been gone. So I don't know. I just think about those 2 times sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm pretty lucky.
I'm more thinking on the guy who saved your life. Like, I mean,
I
that's
know. I wish I could find that guy today. Like, obviously, I was too
Right.
young at that time to even understand the significance of what had
Mhm.
had happened. I know my mom was obviously very thankful to him and everything, but man, I wish I could somehow know who that guy was
But
today. You
like,
know,
and
it's
that's
crazy.
the thing. Like, things like that in the city happen. Like, people
Right,
get
right.
to be like ground chuck status on the subway rails, very
Crazy,
commonly
man.
in the city. And most of the time, it's like homeless people, just like just getting too drunk and just
Right,
falling on
right.
the tracks. Like most of the time, it's accidents, and then only like a few times where it's like malice behind it, where the people are just pushed down the tracks. But like
have you guys ever seen Gantz?
Oh yeah, I have seen. I actually love that anime.
Gantz is kind of weird to me.
Very, very
Yeah,
strange.
that little gap between the subway and like the platform, it's a very like irrational fear of mine because it's like I know I'll
Yeah.
never like be unfortunate enough, like knock on wood, to like be in that position where my foot gets stuck, but it's always a paranoia of
Uh huh.
mine. And I also always listen to like my AirPod Pros, so like I always like make sure they're fully in my ears, otherwise like say goodbye, like when you're getting on and off the train.
Right. I wonder if something has changed with the gap from when I was a kid to now, possibly. Because I was a skinny kid, but I wasn't like, malnourished or something. I was just a normal,
I
thin
would
kid. So I
I would say
wonder
the
if
gap
anything.
with the width of it would be two iPhone charging brick blocks. That's
Okay.
how wide it is
Okay.
right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious, but yeah, man, I always think about that. So that's the one that comes to mind with that. And obviously now I've kind of, I still have fun and do stuff, but I don't do anything that's gonna put me in danger or anything reckless like that these days. So nothing in a long time.
My little death experiences are always revolving around water, but I guess being in
Oh
Florida,
yeah,
that's a thing. But
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of interesting, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not a great swimmer by any means. So, but it's so weird though, because like we'll go to the beach and I'll be the first one out there in the waves. Like I'm not scared at all. But if you were to drop me in like some random spot in, you know, ocean or something, I would not last very long at all. It would just, it's like a fear
well,
of mine.
this is all like creek stuff and all of that. It's not even necessarily
Mm-hmm.
like the beach. I
Right,
there's
right.
so many. I'm not going to bring them all up, but my biggest one that comes to mind is we were at a river. We knew of this spot because we saw. So we're teenagers, but we saw someone in the early 20s. Basically, they were right there at the edge. There is a tunnel that you can like swim through and pop up on the other side. And they were going back and forth and doing it. So I really badly wanted to do it, and I was quite nervous, but they've done it so many times, and they're trying to say it really isn't that far, you'll be just fine, da da da. So I built the courage to do it. As I'm swimming through, I start to see it like cave in a little, and I panic and try to swim back, but I'm like 3/4 of the way there, and you really
Oh,
couldn't
man.
swim from one end to the other. It would be too far and you'd be like running out of breath. But me panicking, so I'm panicking, running out of breath really fast as it's falling in on me. And I barely made it out, but I'm telling you, like, to the point of it fell on my foot and I couldn't pull my foot out. And I eventually just had to keep pulling and pulling and pulling. My foot does eventually fall free and I swim up to the top. But I'm telling you, I felt like I felt I was already drowning, you know, like like I
That's
I
nuts.
my mouth's like open. I'm like getting shit all in my chest and stuff like that. And I just reached the top and I couldn't even like swim and people had to like pull me to the shore. Like
Damn.
not seconds, maybe milliseconds away, but that was my
Jeez.
most panic moment. But then you have little moments of like being a kid trying to like reach the bottom of the pool and come back up.
Yep.
You know, it's way deeper than you expected it to be, and it took way longer, and you're like not able to reach the top. You know?
It's crazy, man.
Anyway,
Pretty
My
nuts.
near-death experience was when I was at Six Flags. I think I was like 7 or something. Like I was just there with friends, and we went on like the Superman ride. You know, like how like those workers like put you in the seats and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and
Unbuckle you.
they like just do it super fast. They don't even like double check. Like I mean, this was like they probably double check now, but this was like early 2000s, and like people didn't really care about safety then. I mean, they did, but
Right.
not as much as now. But anyway, so my shit wasn't all the way down, and like the thing that
Oh,
strapped to
no.
me, kind of like I don't know, like there was probably a huge fat dude like that sat in it before me, so like my shit felt like rickety and like broken, right? And so actually like when we like came down and stuff, like that thing popped up, and so I was just like hanging on
God.
to my seatbelt like the whole time.
Dude, I would be so
Like
scared
I was
in
like,
that moment.
and that's
I always worry
Oh,
about that
God.
on any ride I go.
Yeah.
I was like, something could just fuck up at any moment, and then like it actually does. Like you'll be in the park. Oh, the ride shut down. It was fucking up, and you're what? You're going upside down on a roller coaster. Like
You're going next.
right, and like I think that's my only near death experience that I can remember. I mean, like other near death experiences, right? Like driving behind large trucks with cars on top of them or logs from like Final Destination, where it's like
God. That's like I was just gonna say Final Destination.
yeah, and
all the way.
it's just like from seeing that movie, and so like I always have to like go in the other lane. The one time I was following one for like 20 miles because both lanes were just stuck, and so I was like,
Dude,
please
oh
don't
my
fall,
God.
please don't fall, please, like the whole time.
we're hard cutting. We're ending
Yeah.
this. We got to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Great talk. Next week, we are going over teacher stuff because Rudy here is a teacher and I got a million questions, as I'm sure
Yeah,
Dryan does.
I'm looking forward to that one.
And we're
Yeah,
going to
I'm-
go over what we've been playing and watching next week as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
I guess Black Widow, because I still didn't watch it. So, hey, at least give me time to watch it now.
Exactly.
So we'll leave some of these topics in for
Mhm.
next time. We'll feel it out. We'll talk about what we can do. Yeah, I'm sorry guys. I unfortunately have to go soon, but we'll keep it going. Don't worry.
No, we're good.
All
We're
right,
good.
do we plug our socials here?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right, so my Instagram is Dryan, that's DRIAN _ Lin LIN.
Yeah, I'll just do my Instagram as well. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead. Brian. I
no,
thought you were
like
done.
that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just do my Instagram. Just Rudy Regs, RUDYREGS. Pretty simple.
And my Instagram's just the show. It's the Inside Byte. Can see all my stuff there. I just got a camera right at the end of March, so I have been trying to take. I actually just took a bunch of photos yesterday that I got to edit through. I got to look through like over
Nice.
100 right now. Hopefully, I can find
I just looked right now. Very
Have you
cool.
been
But yeah.
have you been shooting in
Oh,
RAW?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Good.
This is really cool.
And my video is the whole point of me getting the camera, though.
Mhm.
Those are just my photos. I'm trying to get into video editing, and I've done video editing for a good while, but never with my own material. So I'm really excited to actually shoot video myself and do the video editing with that. Check out the Instagram. Hopefully, I'll even have videos up on there, but I'm trying to get all my videos up on YouTube of me, and it will be on the same thing, Inside Byte. Also, if you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts, it's on YouTube, and vice versa is where I'm going to be putting up the show. And then other podcast things will be picking up from Apple Podcast if you are watching this on YouTube. So check us out wherever. We'll keep going, and they should be up every Tuesday. What time exactly? That's probably at night, 5, 6 o'clock on Tuesdays. But yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Sounds good. See you guys later.